Welcome to the MIT IT Innovation Program podcast. This is a repository of insights by thought leaders and practitioners of innovation where they speak about their views, insights, and experiences. Come join us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Driving Innovation with Emerging Technologies. I'm pleased to introduce our guest speaker and innovator, Mr. Anay Pathak, Senior Technology Consultant, Data Protection Solutions at Dell Technologies Global Alliances. Anay has 15 plus years of experience in DC virtualization, public cloud, data management, which includes protection and business continuity, and cyber recovery. Currently, Anay contributes as global pre-sales consultant with Dell EMC Data Protection and is responsible for architecture and design discussion with alliance partners. He has worked with some of the large enterprise organizations and customers as trusted advisor, providing consulting around IT and creating mindshare around next-gen technology trends. Prior to Dell, Anay has worked with HP, DXC, Orange, and HCL. He has got a couple of IEEE papers in his name and has participated in various technical conferences across the world. Anay has also written technology blogs and is passionate about speaking on trends in technology in multiple industry events and universities. Anay completed his BTech in Electrical and Electronics from KIET Ghaziabad, which is a part of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow. He has been a merit holder all along his school and college days. He has multiple industry certifications for cloud, virtualization, storage, and data protection. So before we proceed to listen to Anay, I have a few updates to share about this session and the MIT ID Innovation Program webinar platform. For those who are joining us for the first time today, I'd like to inform you that MIT stands for the 4-decade-old Maharashtra Institute of Technology. ID stands for MIT's 15-year-old Pioneering Institute of Design. MIT ID's one-year innovation program focuses on the 4 pillars of design, business, technology, and humanities. The key features and differentiators of this one-year course are immersions, project-based learning, and humanities. On behalf of Professor Harshit Desai, head of the innovation program and the core team, we are grateful to be amongst you all hosting the session today. Today's webinar will have our guest speaker share his insights for the first half hour, followed by questions facilitated by me in the latter half hour. Please do read the chat for other important pointers shared. This is our 24th industry interaction this season, and I, Priya Dhawan, head of collaborations, branding, and outreach for the MIT ID Innovation Program, welcome you all once again to this thoughtfully curated innovation journey. So warm welcome once again, Anay. Over to you.
Leading the way, and it would be much more prominent with the IoT devices which we wear, right? So let it be an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. These devices will get more smart so that they can track more data, they can track more health status, which can be fed to a doctor when you are going with a telehealth process, right? So even you will have chatbots where you can do initial diagnosis based on the symptoms. So we're not even talking about doctors. We're talking about chatbots. You give the symptoms, you tell about what is it you are looking at, what is the symptoms, and chatbots giving you the diagnosis based on the symptoms, right? So these IoT devices would be key, and these AR VR is also key in training, right? So let's say if we talk about today's world, how about we have to train the doctors and the nurses as well, just to make sure that we have enough ecosystem available in case there is a need for telehealth, right? So all the AR VR process, which I discussed in the last slide, and the IoT devices is contributing to the training of the nurses and doctors as well. That is where they would learn a lot of things while they are doing it virtually, but AR VR would trying to give them a seamless experience while they do it, right? Another vertical is online entertainment. We know we love entertainment, and that is where there is a pause because there's nothing being done in the entertainment field. We cannot shoot a video, you cannot shoot a movie and whatnot. So that is why how we can attract audience when it comes to the online entertainment and online streaming, right? It is something which you will see a lot as we move forward. So we would talk about online streaming of concerts, which would be a global concert where you have a prominent singer doing a concert, and with AR, VR, and with the devices which you have, right, in the connected world, you'll get a seamless experience as if you are attending the concert, while it would make sure that it is streaming across the online platform over the 5G. Again, 5G plays an important role when it comes to online entertainment. Uh, there's a lot of things which Google has already done. I mean, if you want to research a bit, Google has tied up with a lot of museums already, where you can do a virtual museum tour. I remember it was free some time back. I don't know what it is now, but you basically book a virtual museum tour. You have a guide, which is your online guide to take you through the museum and visit the heritage sites, and that's where virtual tours will become much more prominent, right? So even if I want to visit a monument and know more about it, or I have been there before, right? I want to know more about it. You have virtual tours available, which will help you get more information about these monuments and heritage sites, right? We also talk about games, from football to cricket to baseball, everything being happening in a stadium where fans will cheer from home, connected with 5G and LTE devices. And it gives them a stadium like experience where they would be able to cheer, and whatever they do is basically reflecting in the live telecast as well. But that stadium, there's nowhere, there's a match happening and basically teams are playing, but they would also get to hear the cheer. They would also get to hear the entire fan experience, again connected in an online world. So again, that's online entertainment. Supply chain, I talked about it, and I said that supply chain is uh, something which is affected a lot while we talked about the new normal, or in the current times, and that is where blockchain will play a very, very key role when it comes to supply chain, right? So uh, if you move away, I mean, as of today, it is heavy reliance on paper based records, lack of visibility of data, and lack of diversity and flexibility, that has made supply chain vulnerable to any pandemic, right? So it can be anything, and this is like something which we have seen from a long time. So core technologies of fourth industrial revolution, and when we talk about fourth industrial revolution, we talk about technologies such as big data, cloud computing, internet of things, and blockchain. They are building a more resilient supply chain management system, so that we can enhance the supply chain in the future, and making sure there is more accuracy of data, and data is shared as well, which is not happening in the supply chain as of today. So the global network is working closely with the partners from government, business, academics, and the civil society to co-design and pilot agile frameworks for governing new and emerging technologies. And these technologies include artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, blockchain, data policy, digital trades, drone, Internet of Things, precision medicines, and the environmental innovations, which is also required for supply chain, right? So this again is a vertical where all these technologies will contribute a lot and change the overall ecosystem. And maybe it looks very, very different from how it is as of today. 3D printing, I heard about it. I mean, even I was very fascinated about 3D printing, where you can print anything at home. And that is where 3D printing technology has been deployed to mitigate the shocks of the supply chain as well. So if you're not able to meet the supply chain, you can produce it at a place where you are, right? So 3D printing, it is like a much anticipated tech trend, right, when it comes to 3D printing. But I was fascinated to know that it is also being used in the medical field, right? So 3D printing will open a new business of advanced prosthetics, as many universities are expanding their research in 3D printing of bionic body parts, right? So scientists of Princeton University, New Jersey, for instance, have 3D printed bionic ear that can hear radio frequency far beyond the range of normal human capability, right? So that's the level of 3D printing. And I mean, I was really fascinated while I was reading this article on how the scientists and the doctors are collaborating to make sure that we are working with 3D printing on even the body parts, right? Which is very, very close to humans. So that's one thing. But there are some challenges with 3D printing as well, right? So, I mean, first of all, it offers the flexibility in production. The same printer can produce different products based on different design files and materials. And simple parts can be made on site quickly without requiring a lengthy procurement process and a long shipment. So supply chain is sorted, right? If you're 3D printing, you probably can sort your supply chain a bit. But then massive production using 3D printing faces an obstacle as well, which is intellectual property issues, right? So if I'm trying to produce something with the help of 3D printing, sitting at home, how do I make sure that I comply with the intellectual property, right? So the second thing is production of certain goods, such as surgical mask, is subject to regulatory approvals. You need to probably get regulatory approvals while you can produce it with the 3D printers, but how about getting the regulatory approvals? So majorly what we see is that 3D printing can help you, but also you need to make sure there are enough rules and regulation in place around intellectual property and also the regulatory approvals on what can be printed and how we can use it, right? So we touched on robotics and drones, and we talked about it a bit, where we have seen robots being disinfecting the area, delivering the food, making sure that drones have even walked dogs in the recent times and delivered items, right? So there are some reports that predict that many manufacturing jobs will also be replaced by robots, because this was impacted a lot. There's a lot of human interaction which is required, but new jobs will be created where you would need a human intervention, but a lot of work which is repetitive would be taken over by robots, and that is where they would help us in the field of retail manufacturing, right? So if you talk about business in retail, you've heard about maybe cashierless Amazon Go stores, right? So automation has already had us welcome cashierless Amazon Go stores across US. But maybe according to CNBC, the number will be 3,000 of it cashierless Amazon Go store by 2021. So Amazon Go store is a simple app where you don't even have to worry about billing or standing in queues about billing. You just have to pick the item, the card gets added online, and once you move out of the store, the checkout happens, the money gets deducted from your credit card automatically. So very, very good study if you want to read about Amazon Go. And last but not the least, we also talk about 5G. We emphasized on 5G. We saw that there is some delay when we talk about 5G and the advent of 5G, but this is key, right? I mean, the adoption of 5G will increase the cost of compatible devices and obviously the cost of data plans as well. So we need to make sure we have to optimize this, make sure that it is not something which everyone cannot afford it, but this is the need of the hour. All the use cases which I have covered, or all the use cases which I have discussed, connectivity is major. Connectivity is key. So 5G wireless network will support thousands-fold gains in the capacity connectors, right? 100 of devices connected and a 10 Gbps individual user experience. How will you get it, right? That's something which we want to understand and make sure that while 5G comes in, it is affordable and it is also giving you the seamless experience of living in a connected world from edge to core to cloud. And we also have to talk about the content which we download, right? So if suppose, I mean, we do a 5 GB DVD download at 50 Mbps, it takes 13 minutes. So 5 GB with 50 Mbps, if it is 13 minutes, when we talk about 5G, it is 2 seconds, right? So you can download 5 GB of data in 2 seconds. So that's why do you need that 80 terabyte of hard disk on the cars? Why do you need these apps on your mobile? Because if it is 5G, you can directly connect to these apps which are online in a digital format in the cloud, get seamless processing. You don't even have to download these WhatsApps or Facebook apps of the world. Your phone is totally light because it is always connected, and your speed is so fast that you get the real-time experience without downloading it. So this is where I lead to that we are getting towards the digital readiness. We all understand how important it is to be digitally ready in today's world, and make sure that we take all the measures for the digital readiness. But we also want to cover next two slides. Basically, if we are in a digital readiness, we also have to make sure we counter the cyber threat landscape, right? Some of the very interesting figures which I want to maybe show in terms of cyber attacks happening every 39 seconds. 71% of these breaches are financially motivated, and these are some of the industry research done by Verizon, Accenture, and the cost of cyber attacks ranging from few hundred millions to, and this is the direct cost. There's a lot of indirect cost to it as well. And then you are expanding globally when it comes to these cyber threats. So if you talk about companies who have already shown this in a public platform, it is there. If you search for these attacks happening while the devices are connected, there is an average cost of attack in United States is in the ranges of 28 million, right? So that's what the impact we're talking about. And we have to, while we move towards the digital world, while we talk about connected devices and driving the forces on technology, your cyber security is at its best. You have intrinsic security inbuilt in an organization, in a system, and we talk about zero trust, right? So it is zero trust. We have to ensure we have zero trust being part of all the organizations while we work and focus on the digital transformation side of it, right? So these are some of the path forward which even Dell takes it as to their end customers. We talk about IT transformation, workforce transformation, security transformation, and the application transformation within the digital transformation piece of it. And that is where I would like to conclude, because I know it is good that if we can take some more questions. Okay, so this was about Deepak Chopra, and he is probably, everyone knows about it, or maybe you can search, right, father of AI, where he's creating his digital clone, which is already there. You search for his digital clone. That digital clone is learning from him, right? Day by day, that digital clone is learning from his experience, learning from his research, learning from the work which he has done, so that he knows. He talked about that physical death is something which we cannot stop. The digital clone would become even more smarter, and digital clone will be there to learn, to talk, to make sure that they are able to resolve the queries even after that physical death comes. So while there will be a physical death, there will be a digital clone always alive, is where he has already worked on it, and there is a clone which exactly talks like him, learns from his experience, make sure he has access to all the case studies, all the advices which he has given, and he's continuously learning with the man himself, right? So I wanted to conclude on this, because that's where we think about, we heard about Sophia the robot, we've heard about Deepak Chopra. So we have to ensure that we are moving towards this digital twin very seriously, and it is not just that we're talking about it. So yeah, over to you, Priya. I think this would probably be my last slide.
There's one more coming up.
No, I think that's it. So I see a question from someone talking about emerging opportunities, and how shall a prospective entrepreneur choose the area to work on, right? So thanks for this question. And I think emerging opportunities are immense, right? So we were always talking about IoT, we were always talking about smart wearables, but now they are connected to your health as well, right? So if we talk about how you would like to choose or how you can probably get prospective technologies where you can work on. I think some of the technologies which I discussed, right, while cloud 5G is all about connectivity, but it's more about first is the areas of 3D printing and making sure that it is accessible and used in the right way. The other area which I touched based on was devices which are much more smart and able to track the data and send it to a doctor or send it to a person where they can get meaningful result out of it, right? And then third is around cyber security as well, because I mean, I have read about Gartner talking about an interesting fact where they talk about there is zero unemployment rate when it comes to cybersecurity, and we have 3.5 million jobs, right? So you have 3.5 million jobs or opportunity in the market, but no one is unemployed in cybersecurity, which means all of them are up for the grab. So that would also play a very, very important or a key role as we talk about the digital experience, digital world, when it comes to some of the emerging technologies which I want to maybe tell. So I hope that answers the question.
Sure. Thank you, Anay, for a glimpse into the transformations coming up in this decade in the digital landscape. I guess shortly enough, there will be a digital Anay as well and a digital Priya as well. Very interesting to know that there's so much more happening in the years ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more we probably train the digital twins, I think that's something which is which we might be able to see in near future, where we talk about trained twins, and they are much more advanced than us. Maybe we don't know.
True. So, tell me, how do large corporations choose to invest in emerging technologies?
Yeah, so I mean, when we talk about the large corporations, right, like Dell, right, so we are heavily invested in digital twins, right? So some of the examples which I took, right, so digital twins is one, manufacturing is another area where we are heavily invested. And in maybe manufacturing, as I said, while manufacturing was happening and with the new normals, we have seen that it has gone through a slowdown because a lot of human intervention was required. How about robot and cloud and 5G can drive it and make sure that we are not going into a slower process when it comes to manufacturing? Thermal sensors is another example which I took, right? So in the thermal process side of it, just a second, let me do it from the other one. Okay. Okay. So thermal process is something where we talk about thermal imaging, right? So the airports, some of these airports, these large organizations are already there making sure that we are using the thermal imaging and making sure that thermal imaging are used for temperature detection, making sure we are detecting the movement, you're detecting social distancing, everything is being used, and the large organizations are heavily invested. Last but not the least, healthcare, right? So when we talk about healthcare as such, right from the development which is happening at the level of developing vaccines and whatnot, to how we ensure we are able to give enough compute to make sure that healthcare is able to analyze the data, make sure that they are able to get meaningful result as soon as possible, and also train people with the AR VR inbuilt. So with I mean, if I talk about our organization or all large organization, all the focus is to make sure you get a seamless experience wherever you are, and you have enough gadgets or technology to support you, just to make sure you are not missing on anything while we all have to adapt to the new normal. Hope that makes sense here.
Sure. Thanks. So we've got a question from Kaushik. In what relevant areas are there scope for huge innovation, in your opinion? I guess since it's again your personal opinion, I guess you should answer.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, right, so I mean, the huge innovation, first of all, while we talk about the connected car side of it, we are not there, right? We still have to make sure that that human brain, which can take decisions in fraction of a millisecond, that is there in the connected car world as well. And how it would innovate is probably with 5G and H2 to cloud, the processing would be faster. And when the processing would be faster, we're not relying on the local processing, I think it opens Pandora of use cases where a lot of innovations would take place. The other innovation, which I think is IoT and sensors, right? So while we have IoT sensor-based devices, still we have to make sure they are there to help the humankind with the caveat of not exposing something which is really secure, right? So I often feel that while we have technology, we have Alexas of the world, they are listening all the time. So we also have to make sure how to make these devices secure. And that is where I covered security in the end, because I wanted to make sure security plays a key role while we talk about all the innovation. If it is not secured and if the data is exposed, I think it becomes a very, very big risk while we are in the digital world.
Sure, thank you. Which is the area out of the ones you listed, which is attracting maximum investment right now?
Obviously, telehealth, I think, yes, because right, the amount of investment which was there in this sector of medicines or doctors or the entire support system around it, every country has increased the amount of investment in this field, right? So while we were talking about technologies, we were talking about a lot of other stuff, we have to probably accept that the innovation has to happen, and telehealth is one of the area where a lot of innovation is happening. And the second is manufacturing, as I said. So in manufacturing, again, we are talking about automation and making sure the supply chain is also not affected with the analytics in place, with the robots in place, with making sure that you have humans to drive the technology, but technology is self-sustainable as well to drive the force from supply chain to retail to manufacturing to the delivery, right? Which is like a drone delivery. Obviously, it's not a norm in India. You have to get all the approvals. But how about making drone delivery accurate? That takes time, right? That precision takes time. So all that things, I feel there's a lot of innovation and investment going on to make sure we, as humans, are always there. No one can replace us. I mean, trust me, the brain which we have and the power which we have, nothing is irreplaceable. But yes, while we have technology, it is like we will probably trust technology for a part of it, but we still have to monitor the technology all the time to make sure the job is done in the right way.
True. I think that's a great point to conclude on.
Yeah.
So great. So to the audience, for more questions, do reach out to us offline on LinkedIn. A round of thanks to our participants for joining us today, and special thanks to our guest speaker, Mr. Anay Pathak, for his time and the value-add takeaways from his journey.
Thank you.
We encourage you all to connect with us via our social channels to know more about the MIT ID Innovation Program and upcoming webinars and online courses. I'd also like to invite you all to our next webinar on Wednesday, 8th July 2020. Our guest speaker is Ms. Meeta Malhotra, founder of The Hard Copy, who will be speaking about why innovation needs storytelling. So please register in case you haven't yet. For those interested in enrolling for the one-year course, we have last few seats left for the second cohort of this prestigious program that will fast-track your career path. So log on to www.mitidinnovation.com to kickstart your innovation journey with a diverse set of co-innovators and mentors like Anay. Thank you once again, Anay, for your time, for your patience, and for running us through all the case studies. It was fantastic listening to you.
I just wanted to add one more thing. Sure. That I love feedbacks. I mean, as I talk about time management, right? You have given maybe 40-45 minutes of your time to us. Right. Do share your feedback, whatever it is, because it would help us, I mean, me, Priya, everyone, to learn from your feedback and constantly innovate. And that's what we need, right?
Yes, positive. So everyone stay connected, stay safe, and keep innovating every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.